You're listening to True Voice Shorts from True Voice Productions, where we empower your story with voice. Today, we invite you into our True Voice Reflections series, where timeless words and personal stories come together in meaningful ways. From poetry to meditation to memoir, every voice matters. Let's begin. Matthew Arnold, 1822 to 1888, was one of those writers who managed to live in two worlds at once. By day, he worked as a school inspector, crisscrossing Victorian England to help shape the country's education system. But in the quiet hours of the night, he became something else entirely. A poet and a critic wrestling with the big, difficult questions of his time. Questions about faith, loss, meaning, and how to live in a world that seemed to be shifting under everyone's feet. Arnold grew up surrounded by books and ideas. His father was the famous headmaster of Rugby School, so serious thinking was part of the family business. After studying at Oxford, Matthew carved out his own path, publishing poetry that blended deep feeling with love of classical myths and old stories. He wasn't interested in poetry that was just pretty words. For Arnold, poetry had a job to do. It was a way to examine life honestly, to test ideas about beauty, truth, and the human spirit. One of his early and most haunting poems, The Foresaken Merman, draws from old European sea legends, especially stories from Scandinavian and Germanic traditions. It tells of a human woman torn between two worlds, the magical life she built with her merman husband and children, and the pull of her old life on land. It's a theme that runs through a lot of Arnold's work, this idea of longing, separation, and painful choices we sometimes make between heart and duty. Over his lifetime, Arnold wrote about 120 poems and many influential essays on culture and society. He believed deeply that poetry and art weren't just for escape. They were tools for living better, richer lives. Even today, his work feels timeless, speaking to anyone who's ever stood between two worlds, unsure which way to go. In The Forsaken Merman, Matthew Arnold weaves an old legend into a timeless reflection on love, loss, and the worlds we leave behind. It's a story of longing, where the pull of the land and sea becomes a deeper pull between heart and duty. Now that we've met the man behind the words, let's take a closer look at the heart of the Forsaken Merman, because the soul of the Forsaken Merman lies in what Arnold chose to reveal between the lines. Matthew Arnold once wrote that poetry should be a criticism of life. That philosophy echoes throughout the Forsaken Merman, a poem that reads like a fairy tale, sings like a ballad, and lingers like a memory. What's striking is how Arnold turns a mythical scenario, a merman abandoned by his human wife, into a deeply human meditation on love, loyalty, and loss. This isn't a story about mermaids and sea kings in the Disney sense. It's a lament, a father trying to explain to his children why their mother left them. The sea, usually imagined as playful or dangerous, becomes something mournful and majestic, full of sound and motion, but also grief. And the land, far from being a place of safety or faith, is cast as cold, joyless, and spiritually numbing. What's so compelling here is how Arnold positions the merman, not the woman, as the heartbroken one. He sings to the children, not to mourn her absence, but to relive the moment of her choice, the moment she walks away from warmth, magic, and motherhood, and return to a world of church bells, duty, and silence. Was she right? Did she betray them? Or was she torn between two incompatible truths? Arnold doesn't answer that. Instead, he lets the story ache. To the lovers and the children whose stories don't usually get told when someone chooses a different life. In the end, The Forsaken Merman is more than a Victorian poem. It's a story for anyone who's ever been caught between callings, for anyone who's wondered why someone left, or how to explain it to those too young to understand, and for anyone who's looked up from deep within their own world and wondered if someone, somewhere, still remembers them. The Forsaken Merman. Come, dear children, let us away, down and away below. Now my brothers call from the bay, now the great winds shoreward blow, now the salt tides seaward flow. Now the wild white horses play, champ and chafe and toss in the spray. Children dear, let us away, this way, this way. Call her once before you go, call once yet, in a voice she will know. Margaret, Margaret. Children's voices should be dear. Call once more to a mother's ear. Children's voices wild with pain, surely she will come again. Call her once and come away, this way, this way. Come, dear children, come away down, call no more. She will not come, though you call all day. Come away, come away. Children dear, was it yesterday we heard the sweet bells over the bay? Sand-strewn canvases cool and deep, where the winds are all asleep. Children dear, was it yesterday? Call yet once that she went away. She said, I must go to my kinfolks pray in the little gray church on the shore today. Children dear, was it yesterday? But she gave me never a look, for her eyes were sealed to the holy book. Loud prays the priest, shut stands the door. Come away, children, call no more. Come away, come down, call no more. Down, 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 down to the depths of the sea. She sings her fill, singing most joyfully. She steals to the window and looks at the sand, and over the sand at the sea. And anon there breaks a sigh, and anon there drops a tear. For the cold, strange eyes of the little mermaiden and the gleam of her golden hair. Come away, away, children, come down. We shall see, while above us the waves roar and swirl, a ceiling of amber, a pavement of pearl. Singing, here came a mortal, but faithless was she. But children, at midnight, when the soft winds blow, singing, there dwells a loved one, but cruel is she. She left lonely forever the kings of the sea. What begins as a haunting tale of the sea ends up asking something deeper about love, loss, and the choices that echo long after they're made. Stay with me now as we dive beneath the surface to uncover what the Forsaken Merman is really about. Matthew Arnold was never just a poet. He was a seeker. He stood at the shoreline between tradition and doubt, heart and head, faith and uncertainty. He was a man shaped by the solid institutions of Victorian England, yet haunted by the things those institutions could not explain. In the Forsaken Merman, we see this conflict take form in the image of the woman torn between the enchantment of the sea and the solemn call of religion on land. This is no light fairy tale. It's a poem about devotion and abandonment, about the pain of choosing between personal freedom and social expectation. The merman's sorrow isn't just mythical. It echoes every parent left behind, every partner who wonders why love was not enough. As we enter the waves of this story, Arnold invites us not only into a magical world below, but into the very human ache of being left behind. The poem ends not with resolution, but with ritual, a return. The merman and his children, hearts still open, still aching, continue their midnight visits to the town above. There is no vengeance, no bitterness, only longing. Arnold gives us not a moral, but a mood, one of tides that pull and never rest, of memories that echo even beneath the waves. The Forsaken Merman is a legend wrapped in grief, but it is also a meditation on devotion, both sacred and familial. Margaret, the human wife and mother, follows her conscience and religious duty, but her silence leaves wounds. Arnold doesn't judge her, nor does he offer the merman full closure. Instead, he gives us the ache, that quiet space where memory and myth merge. Even now, the poem feels startlingly modern. It asks questions we still grapple with today. What happens when the world pulls us in two directions? What parts of ourselves do we abandon to fit in? What does it mean to keep returning, in thought, in song, in ritual, to a door that will never open again? It's not a story of happy endings, but of enduring presence. The kings of the sea may dwell alone, but their song carries still. As the tides draw out and the stars appear overhead, the Forsaken Merman leaves us with a haunting echo, a reminder of the choices we make follows in their wake. Matthew Arnold's poem is not only a tale of loss and separation, but a meditation on devotion, duty, and the deep pull of the human heart towards both the known and the unknown. In the hush after the final words, we are left with an image of the sea, vast, quiet, endless. Arnold's verses remind us that love does not always conquer all, and sometimes, in choosing one world, we must forsake another. Yet even in loss, beauty endures. In the memory of a voice, the gleam of golden hair, and the distant, ever-pulling tide. You've been listening to The Forsaken Merman by Matthew Arnold, part of the True Voice Reflections series, where timeless words find a voice. This has been a True Voice Shorts production. Empower your story with voice. If this tale lingered in your heart, follow or subscribe. We bring forgotten stories and fresh reflections to life in every